Okay, we went way off left.
Too much pot tar.
way too much pod tar.
Someone else is taking the Yankees in the playoffs this year. You know. We'll have Oakland. You know what? Oakland could play the Yankees in the first round.
Yeah.
And then they could take them down. And then the Twins will take care of their first round. And the Twins in Oakland will be in the ALCS. How about that? Here we go.
I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. If you flew out to the Bay Area, you would join me at a playoff game. I'll pony up for the tickets because I'm sure they won't be as expensive as they would be in Minnesota. Right. But so what's the context here? Just largely conversational between the three of us here. I mean, we've got Alex on the line here. Who else is here?
I'm Johnny, by the way. I run the
Johnny.
Scorecrow. Yeah.
All right, Johnny. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. So we basically just go like a conversation. We don't really do like questions or anything. Just kind of just go into talking about the team.
Right on.
Anything.
I like that very much. But just a little background, about kind of where I'm coming from in terms of, my analysis, so to speak, is huge fantasy baseball guy, but lifelong A's fan. So I've sort of shifted to looking at guys from more of a fantasy baseball perspective, but really, when it comes to general outlook, there's no team that I follow closer than the A's. Well, actually,
right.
they're kind of the only team I follow. I do keep up on the news for fantasy for the most part, which does keep me in tune with the rest of the league, but man, it's all about the A's for me. Last year was kind of tough, but really with Puck and Luzardo, I really thought their window to do anything was going to start this year. And I honestly thought that last year either them, just barely missing the playoffs would be the best thing for them to keep them hungry. And as it would turn out, maybe losing in that wild card game was the best thing that could happen to him because it gets him a little bit of, postseason experience, but still keeps him hungry for this next year. And they're largely returning, most of the same guys except for a couple of add-ons. But
yeah, no, definitely.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I'm big into fantasy baseball myself. I'm in the TGFBI on Twitter.
All right.
What league? Got the league designation today. I'm in league number 26. Of course, they stuck me with like Andy Barons and Paul Sporer, so I'm stuck there with like two heavy hitters. But it's all good. It's fun. The last kind of fell off, but
I think I might be following you now. I want to say I saw that league and followed all of the managers in that one.
Oh, did you? What's your handle?
My handle is at Andrew Kolar. That's on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if if maybe you knew it and didn't know it, but I mean, I don't know who wrote it. I think it might have been Ray Butler who runs Prospects 365, but he wrote an article this year about weaponizing Twitter for fantasy baseball.
I did see that. Yep.
What's that?
I did see that article. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I've kind of been doing that the last couple of years. I don't really know, that many people personally in the industry, but, even being kind of a small time player myself, I just got into a dynasty league for the first time this year through being one of Ray's, followers for Prospects 365s and had a trade that I was mulling over and, reached out to Yancey Eaton. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, huge on the Rays. But, kind of reached out to him and he was really cool and responsive and he's tight with Sammy Reed, who actually lives out here near me in the Bay Area. But also reached out to Michael Halpern from Imaginary Brick Wall. And, I was actually rather surprised that both of them were, so open and willing to discuss fantasy with me. And, I'm just really grateful because, it's all just, I just feel like I work best when I collaborate with people. And, I do develop my own rankings, but, a lot of my rankings are just taking composites of, other people's rankings as well.
Well, it's funny because that's the thing. There's a lot of good people in the fantasy baseball community, man, especially on Twitter.
Mhm.
Like all those guys like Sammy Reed and, there's a lot of good people that like just respond. And I'm real close with, like, we go back and forth. Eric Cross with the prospects. And stuff.
Yeah.
He and I actually, last year we tried to meet up because he comes down, he's from Maine and I'm in Boston area.
Okay.
So he goes down to for a weekend here and there to catch the Cape Cod League. And we were going to meet up last year. It didn't work out, but we were going to try to meet up last year for like a weekend, like catch a game together and stuff like that. And I know that one of our guys, Bruce Cagle, he was out at First Pitch Arizona this past year. And he actually sat down and had lunch with like Alex Chamberlain and guys like that. Like there's a bunch of guys that are real, they just want to talk baseball. You know what I mean?
They're real people
that way. As far as the rankings go, it's interesting you say that because now that football's over, the Scorecrow, we have our fantasy rankings. We're going to do position by position, and I have catchers coming out on Wednesday. So I'm going to be working on that tomorrow, get that published, top 30 catchers in fantasy on Wednesday morning. Should be out. I'm off of work tomorrow, so I'm going to be sitting home doing all my research and, So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. Plus, I'm big into DFS. I don't know if you do a lot of DFS at all.
No, I don't really touch DFS at all. I'm more of a season-long only guy. But, to a certain extent, I keep my finger on the pulse just a little bit because basically all of the leagues that I play in are daily moves leagues. So, if there's a play that, someone's really digging, I love deep rotisserie. And so if you can edge out, a few extra stats here and there, especially on the short days, I'm all for it because that's when kind of your active manager gets the jump on someone who's maybe, sleeping a little bit or, they kind of set it and forget it on Sunday. And, that's what I hear mostly from my friends who play fantasy football. They can't believe that I set the lineup every day. And it's like, not all leagues are like that, but also, when you love it, it's nice to see all the stats accumulate every single day,
Yeah, I'm the same way. Most of the leagues I'm in are daily leagues, as far as that goes. The one league I run, this will be 7th year I think that I run. It's a keeper league. You get to keep 5 players, so it's not complete dynasty, but you get to keep 5 players. But you also pay a price. The first 2 years you keep the player, it's free, but then it goes where he was drafted. Then it goes ahead 3 rounds each year that you keep them. So drafted someone in the 10th round after the first 2 years, then it costs you a 7th rounder, then it costs you a 4th rounder. So kind of like the way baseball is. You have the pre-arb, and then you have the arbitration years, and then if you really want to keep the guy, you got to start paying. So we kind of structured it that way, and it's a points league.
Okay.
So I kind of like that. I kind of like the points leagues. Category leagues I'm getting away from. I kind of like the points because it's almost like it's like weighted at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just go for all home runs and then, all right, I don't have enough stolen bases, so I'm going to go for this guy with just steals and stuff. You kind of got to look at like the guys who are going to give you balance and try to get those 5 to get that guy who hits 25 home runs, steals 12 stolen bases,
right?
Gives you decent OBP, like walks, strikeouts, and stuff like that. You kind of got to look at a little bit of everything. Whereas the 5x5 regular standard leagues, disregard basically walks and strikeouts because you don't care about OBP. It's average, which it's like I just think I've been going away from those leagues because it's not true definition of a good player, a good hitter. You know what I mean? I think the points leagues, or at least the OPS leagues and stuff, are at least more geared toward that. So that's why I like the points league better. So I've been kind of going that way.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly get a more textured perspective of player value when you're in those points leagues. And I haven't gone so deep as to get into sabermetrics leagues, which I have heard of as well, which is pretty crazy considering that it's K percentage, ISO, walk percentage, things like that.
Yeah.
But the dynasty that I am in with Ray Butler and the Prospects 365 Followers League, That one, I believe, is on base percentage, and it's net stolen bases. So basically, it's stolen bases minus caught stealing. So that's a little more critical as well. But also with that one, it's quality starts, and I forget. Oh, it's quality starts, and then saves plus holds net as well. So any blown saves hurt you. Any caught stealing hurts you. So I certainly can respect that. But this other dynasty league that I got into, it's a points league, and I was kind of thinking to myself like, man, and it's since it's a dynasty, I was thinking like, man, people are going really heavy on the pitchers, like just crazy. And I finally looked at the settings, and there's like 19 categories for pitchers and like 16 for hitters. Granted, some of those are saves and holds as well. But it's certainly an adjustment period. But it's it's like anything else. You have to let every experience sharpen your blade. And if you play in these different leagues with different categories, it's just going to round you out altogether as a better fantasy player. But from your perspective, who do you think is the most valuable fantasy player on the A's right now?
Most valuable fantasy player. I tell you, if we're going, it depends on what you're looking at. Like I said, like if you're looking at regular 5x5 categories, Laureano gets a bump up for me because it's stolen base.
You bet.
Oh yeah.
Overall, I'd probably still have to go Chapman because honestly, I think he's the best hitter on the team. But the thing is, third base is deep. Same thing with Simeon. Shortstop's deep. Honestly, overall, considering position eligibility and like how deep different positions are, I'd even throw Matt Olson in there. I mean, because first base is kind of weak. Honestly, you look at first base, especially in the American League. I mean, that's another thing too. I've been playing an NL only league for a long time.
Oh, God bless you.
It's tough. But I mean, if you think about it this way, if you look at an AL only league, who's your best first baseman in the AL? Matt Olson.
Yeah, that's true.
Matt Olson's the best first baseman in the American League.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Fantasy, I mean, aside from his defense, obviously, because we do fantasy, but honestly, with his run production, I mean, the only other guys you could throw in there, if you want to take a shot at Luke Voigt, that he's solid with his OBP, and he proved that he hits the ball hard again last year. But I mean, Jose Abreu with the RBIs and stuff like that. But other than that, what other first baseman you have in the American League? Really? But CJ Cole.
True that.
This year, he'll have first base eligibility eventually. But I mean, Matt Olson's the best first baseman in the American League, and he's probably fantasy-wise, probably third, fourth overall. If you want to throw in the National League too, I mean, still take a chance on Goldschmidt. I mean, is Votto going to bounce back? Was he 35? 36?
Yeah.
I thought he bounced back last year. Is the power coming back or no? Or I mean, obviously,
not a believer in Joey Votto.
No.
Yeah, I mean, number one first baseman for me is Freddie Freeman, fantasy wise.
Yeah,
the dude's been so consistent every year, and I mean, I think he pushed himself the past year and year or two. The fact that Votto's getting older, Goldschmidt going to St. Louis had sort of an off year last year. I think Freeman is the number one first baseman in the majors. But like I said, I think Olson's probably fourth, fantasy wise.
Yeah.
So I'd say Olson, honestly, biggest fantasy asset on.
The thing that that really surprised me, and especially as an A's fan, to the pleasant upside with Matt Olson was he came back from the hamate bone surgery, which I mean, name me another guy whose power didn't take a tick down after the hamate bone surgery. I don't know who, but Matt Olson, it didn't seem like he missed a beat whatsoever when he came back from the surgery. And, I think he's probably a good candidate to, push like 44 home runs this year. And, it's just, he's in a fabulous lineup. And, talking about Laureano, he's got a little bit of strikeout heavy in his profile, but if he can he can bring his walk rates back to sort of where he was in the minors, or even just, take him up a little bit from last year, I mean, that just sets the table for Olsen in a crazy way with Semien, Laureano, and Chapman right in front of him. And I mean, speaking of Chapman, I just, it's just not. I mean, this is why you guys had me on here, to be an A's homer. But I see him play every day, and just talking about the defense, he makes these insane plays, but then he's also making these somewhat difficult plays look really easy. And his arm is just crazy strong. But the thing that I love about him is that it seems like he's maturing a little bit. And Ron Washington kind of took Marcus Semien under his wing, and really got him lined up on defense. And it seems like Matt Chapman has kind of fallen under Marcus Semien's tutelage. I was at a Warriors game a couple years back, and the two of them were just hanging out together, sitting a few rows in front of me. And I mean, I don't really think you can replace that chemistry, but at the same time, I think Semien's been, kind of a good mentor to the guy, and then, in turn, a good mentor for the team. And so, I know they kind of have to pick and choose who they extend. And, Semien, he's like 29 or 30. I know they're probably gonna, want to move on, to the younger guys in terms of extensions, but, to really pay back a guy who's had an impact on the franchise, Semien would be the guy. And, I think he had an outstanding year last year, and I'd love it if he repeated it, but, I just question if he will. I think he, his strikeout rate went down huge, and, I think pitchers are going to kind of adjust to his adjustment. But no, I mean, he plays excellent defense, and he's consistent enough to play 150 games a year. I think he's played 150 games a year for the last 4 years. Maybe save one of those years. I feel like he was injured and maybe missed half the season. But, similar to Chapman, he's just been cutting his K rate for the last 3 years. And in this game with, I feel like the game has totally turned into, strikeout, homer, walk for, everyone in the league. Right. And, to cut down on the strikeouts. I'd be happy if he replicated his average and, gave up a little bit of the power just to remain consistent. But what do you think about the A's prospects for maybe finishing first in the AL West this year?
I like their chances. I've said this before on other podcasts. I think the Astros are going to, with all the whole scandal going on, I think they're going to have so much going around their heads the whole season and not be able to focus on, playing and, kind of having like this thing just hanging over their head, and they're going to struggle. I think they could even miss the playoffs, to be honest.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the Astros and the Nationals missed the playoffs. I think they both do.
Yeah. You could definitely see that.
I agree with that, Alex. Like with the Astros, I think it's just too much hanging over their head, too much changeover, too much going on there, and it's not like the rest of the division hasn't improved.
Yeah.
The A's are just another year in, and like you said before with their pitching. Now, I mean, you got to remember they didn't have Manaea for most of the year last year. Sean Manaea will be healthy for the whole year. Luzardo, Frankie Montas got suspended last year, so you got him back. If AJ Puck comes up, I don't see him up. I don't see him up at a spring training, but I think he'll definitely be up by, say, May. I mean, I don't see why not. I'm trying to think of what other they have on a team that are going to be there. But, I mean, just with that, I mean, Manaea is excellent. Montas was lighting the league up last year. I think he was, 2.93 ERA before he got suspended?
Something like that, yeah.
You guys got great stuff.
Well, and he had splitter. He had a lot of success with the splitter, and you're forgetting about probably out of all their pitchers in the starting rotation, the guy that benefits the most from their excellent defense, the whistleblower himself, Mike Fiers.
That's right. That's right. I thought I was missing somebody. Of all people.
He's he's kind of forgettable with the amount of talent that they do have in that rotation. But yeah, the A's have indeed they have indeed announced that Puck will go into the year as a starter. Now, to your point, is he going to be a starter for them on the big club immediately? I'm assuming he's going to have a pretty outstanding spring for that happen for them to force his hand. But they also have Chris Bassett, who's a little on the old side, but he basically ditched his slider last year, and I don't know if that's the reason for kind of his improved campaign last year. I feel like he had a mini breakout, but it seemed like down the stretch he kind of got stronger, and so he's thrown about 120 innings the last couple of years. So for him to kind of get stronger as the season goes on, that just speaks to maybe his development both mentally and physically. But as it stands, they want Luzardo and Puck to start. I mean, obviously Luzardo's going to start, but each of those guys are going to be on innings limits. I think they both have had Tommy John in their history too. So, I could see, them maybe turning Bassett into a long guy or going to a 6-man rotation, or having kind of an innings or pitch count for both Luzardo and Puck. But yeah, I initially wasn't that excited about the rotation, and then for this conversation I dug a little deeper and I thought to myself, like, man, they're not too bad. And the Coliseum's a great park to pitch in, and as I said, I mean, 2 Gold Glovers at the corners, and Laureano is no slouch in the outfield, and even Mark Canha, he's I forget where I read it, but by many defensive metrics, he's a better outfielder than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
So
I like Canha a lot.
Yeah. He had a big second half surge last year. The only place where I really have kind of concerns for the team is second base, and I know they signed Tony Kemp, which is just such a Billy Bean move to add a guy who's sort of an also-ran, but add a bunch of depth. They have so it's Pinder, Sheldon Noisy, and who's the other? I feel like I'm forgetting someone else, but 2 guys who can really back up a lot of different positions on the diamond. And I know Pinder smashes lefties and can kind of play anywhere, but Sheldon Noisy to me is the one who's kind of interesting because he batted like 317 last year, and he didn't look totally outmatched at the plate in the bigs. And so I think if anyone stumbles at second base, you see Sheldon Noisy filling in there. Or if Chris Davis's offensive woes continue into this year, maybe he sees a little time at DH. But I think Chris Davis is, speaking from that fantasy perspective again, I think he's in for a big bounce back year, especially where he's going in drafts. I mean, he ran into a wall in Cleveland, which kind of turned into a hip and oblique thing, but he didn't really lose much power until he got hit in the left hand with a pitch in like late June. And then oh man, even for him, he had a putrid July where he hit like 1 home run and batted 175 or something like that. And then I think it was the same story in August. And he's a great guy, but I think he also he gets in his own head, and so once you kind of get into that slump and you press a little bit, and for a guy that is sort of all or nothing, I think he was just pressing a little bit, but that's where, I'm not overly concerned about, maybe a regression from Marcus Semien or some depleted production from Steven Piscotty. I think Chris Davis is going to bounce back nicely, and Robbie Grossman, damn, that was the other guy. I think that's a guy who just adds some good depth to the team, and that's something, again, in preparing for this conversation, I realized, it's not a very sexy bench by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you could almost argue it's, not that sexy of a team, but but they're deep, and they've all played together for a long time, and so I don't think there's a replacement for that chemistry. I'm really interested to see what Sean Murphy can do in his first full year, and I haven't really evaluated him as a defensive catcher, but I know he progressed through the system pretty damn quickly.
Yeah. I mean, really, all Chris Davis has to do is get back to 247.
I was about to say.
You know what I mean? That's all he has to do is get back to that. But Robbie Grossman, I should have known that because I'm a Twins fan, so he's an ex-Twin.
Right.
Big. It's great that he's a switch hitter. So you got a switch hitter off the bench as a fourth outfielder. You can plug him in kind of anywhere, left and right field, and he's a great on base guy. As much as he doesn't really hit like really well, but he's not going to kill you in the lineup when you put him in. He's adequate defensively, so he's definitely a good guy to have. I always like Pender. I mean, I think Pender with regular at bats can add some pop to the lineup. I like him a lot. But he definitely, like you said, he definitely hits lefties. And with Tony Kemp, if I'm not mistaken, he's a lefty. So I mean, if that's the route they're going to go at second base, maybe platoon Pender and Kemp and see what Noisy can do. As a fill-in, or keep him in start him in AAA so he gets regular at bats. See what he does if he can force his way into a regular lineup. I think at the start of the season, having Kemp and Pender maybe platoon at second, Grossman as your fourth outfielder. I think that might be the way they go.
Yeah.
But the lineup, like you said, it's not sexy, but they play like a team. They play excellent defense at the important positions. And if Sean Murphy, like you said, if Sean Murphy can hit and play decent behind the plate, with Laureano in center, Canna in the outfield, Semien and Chapman are, arguably the best left side defensively of the infield in the major leagues. I mean, you might want to make an argument for the Angels with Rendon and Simmons, but I mean, they got a solid team, man.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, they got a lot of thump. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like when they signed Tony Kemp, because, of course, it all comes back to me and fantasy. But I own Sheldon Noisy in a dynasty league, and so it kind of pissed me off a little bit that they signed him. But he's like the anti Sheldon Noisy. He's got speed and little power, and Sheldon Noisy has a little bit of power and no speed whatsoever. But I'm interested to see if Seth Brown can kind of force their hand and be that fourth outfielder for him too, because he jacked 37 last year in AAA, and he was 8 of 9 in stolen base attempts. So I mean, he could be an interesting piece if he comes out hot. And the only thing about him is I feel like he's a little bit on the older side for AAA player. I want to say he's like 26 or 27, something along those lines. But he could be an interesting piece. But yeah, I'm not going to say that I've totally given up on Franklin Barreto, but I think he's got to show something, or he's just going to get DFA'd, because every time he's had a shot to do anything in the bigs, he's just looked terrible. I feel like he's been consistently outmatched both cups of coffee he's had, and the strikeout numbers are ridiculous, and I don't think he walks very much. I'm not totally over the guy, but I almost wonder if they just kept him around because he's the guy they got in the Donaldson deal from the Blue Jays, and they just can't give up on him that easily. And granted, he is only 23, but yeah, I mean, strikeout rates in the high 30s and walk rates below 2%. Just under, 130, plate appearances, but still you gotta produce more than that, especially with, even guys like Kemp and Pinder waiting in the wings, ready to hit.
Well, I think they're going to wait on. I mean, I think this is going to be, like you said, with a couple cups of coffee that Burrito had, being a top prospect like that and a top piece of the trade. I think they're going to see what he's really all about. I think this is going to be a big evaluation year for him, especially since you said about re-signing guys and keeping guys there, like someone like Semien, 30-year-old shortstop. He improved his defense the past 2 years thanks to Ron Washington, and also having arguably the best defensive third baseman next to him. That always helps. So I think this is the year they evaluate Barreto and really see if he's going to take over for Semien when he's gone in another year or two. I think 2 more years of control, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But I think they're going to see if Barreto's actually the guy that's going to take over for Semien short, or he's not, and they have to go and do something. Either Pinder at short, whoever else might be able to play shortstop. But that's definitely, it's definitely an evaluation year for Barreto. I mean, it's the same way I feel about, not to switch on to my Twins, but I mean, I love the signing of Donaldson this year. I think it's going to help Polanco a lot at shortstop, just as Chapman's defense helps a lot with Semien. I think I'm excited about that part of it.
Yeah, jeez. Well, and you talk about a team that's going to hit a lot of home runs. I mean, just between Donaldson and Sano and Kepler. I mean, I know there's a couple other guys, but yeah, I'm not not to get on the. Oh yeah, that Nelson Cruz guy.
Nelson Cruz going to be 85 runs. Like he can do it to the Angels.
Just to lose to the Yankees, though.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait until someone,
taking shots over there, Alex.
Someone else is taking the Yankees in the playoffs this year. We'll have Oakland. You know what? Oakland could play the Yankees in the first round.
Yeah.
And then they could take them down. And then the Twins will take care of their first round. And the Twins in Oakland will be in the ALCS. How about that? There we go.
I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. You if you flew out to the Bay Area, you would join me at a playoff game. I'll pony up for the tickets because I'm sure they won't be as expensive as they would be in Minnesota. Right. But I will make that vow now. But so like I was saying, watching the Super Bowl this weekend. I was up in Lake Tahoe for my brother's bachelor party. We were in the sports book.
Right.
The current line for the A's win total for 2020 is 89.5. Over or under?
Over. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where my money went. And I'm not really a sports bettor either. So
I definitely take over. I'd see them winning. I see them 93 to 95 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
No, looking back to last year, they had 97, and that was even more than I even remember. For some reason, them being that close to 100 didn't seem so palpable. But I looked back and checked on it, and that's why I was a bit surprised that the win total was so low for the over/under this year, which concerns me because those gambling sharps seem to know a lot more than us.
That's true, but I think 90 wins is fairly easily attainable, especially with the American League. I mean, even aside from the Astros, the American League is the haves and the have-nots, and it's been that way for a couple of years. I mean, you look at last year. It really wasn't a play. The bottom 5 to 7 teams in the American League stink, and they're not going to come close. I mean, the Tigers are bad, the Royals are bad, the Orioles are bad, the Rangers are bad. Like they're just, there's a bunch of teams that are just so bad. Whereas the National League is a little different. The National League is a little more balanced. I mean, you can legit say in the National League that 10 of those teams, or even 12 of those teams, could probably make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where in the American League, it's basically 7. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that the A's are going to beat up on the bottom dwellers, same as the Twins.
The Mariners too. Mariners being in their division, they'll see them plenty. And also, for as much as the Angels have added Rendon and taken a shot on Bundy, which I don't think it's going to amount to much, but I respect that they're going out and doing it. It just seems like the Angels always have a hard time putting it together.
Yeah.
I like Bundy a lot. Watch out for him. One of my sleepers. Not to give you a heads up, but he is one of my sleepers. He had a really solid year. You got to remember something. This guy's like a top draft pick, and he's also only 27. And he was pitching in Baltimore on a horrible team the past couple of years.
Yeah. And that park is pretty tough.
Don't forget, too, Wait till he goes to the Angels and has Simmons and Rendon on the left side of the infield and Trout in center field.
Yeah.
With defense in a bigger ballpark, learning how to control his stuff at 27 years old. Now moving on, I honestly think I like Dylan Bundy a lot this year. I really do. I think he's gonna outplay his ADP. We're talking about fantasy. I'll snatch up Bundy all day long in like the 15th, 20th round, like that range. Yeah, someone's gonna leave him there at like 175, and I'm drafting. Oh, Dylan Bundy all day long.
Oh yeah.
Well, like you said, I mean, he's just been around for so long that he seems so old, but he's got that prospect pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
But he also has some pretty. I think it was. I feel so badly because I think it's maybe pitcher list. I hate making the incorrect reference, but just saying that he's got crazy swinging strike rates on 2 pitches, and he's among a group of guys that include like DeGrom and Scherzer and Castillo and Giolito, and it's like Blake Snell. And then Dylan Bundy and Kyle Gibson are there. And it's like, what?
Right? Yeah. But that's the thing. This is the thing with a lot of these pitchers that, over the past couple of years, if we're talking fantasy or in real life, over the past couple of years, we've seen young guys, especially hitters, like Soto, Acuna, and guys like that come up and hit and do well. Pitchers are a different breed. It's a different thing, So when you get a pitcher that has the pedigree, comes up, either bad team, doesn't have the command, doesn't have the third pitch mastered, blah, blah, blah. They get batted around and stuff like that. People forget about them for, 3-4 years later. People forget about them. They're like, well, this guy's, he's at a 5 ERA. Look at everyone talking about 2 years ago, Lucas Giolito, bust. Complete bust 2 years ago. What is he now? Now all of a sudden everyone's on him. Like this guy gets out and blah blah blah. It takes pitchers longer. Yeah. I will take a 27, 28-year-old pitcher who stunk his first 3 years, that has like 1,000 batters, 1,500 batters faced into his major league career, that can actually throw like 150 to 180 innings. I'll take that guy over a shiny new toy. You know what I mean? And that's what Dylan here. He's not the shiny new toy anymore.
Exactly. He's lost that shine.
That guy who's been in the league for a few years that has actually started to learn how to pitch. And with a new atmosphere, change of scenery, better team, better defense, possibility for the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. I really think Dylan Bundy is going to take a big step forward this year. Because it's not all stats either. Mm-hmm. See, this is what I argue about with people. We always want to look at swinging strike rate, K minus walk percentage, and left on base percentage, and BABIP against, and blah blah. We all want to look at these numbers, but there are some things that you have to look at that could point to a progression that maybe aren't quantified in the numbers. And
absolutely,
what I'm saying about Dylan Bundy is the fact that he's been in the league for a few years. And the fact that he's going to a new team, change of scenery, a better team, better ballpark, better defense, with a chance to kind of say, like, yeah, I was a first-round draft pick for a reason. But last year I said the same thing about Carlos Santana because he had a bad year in Philly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, this guy is the same guy we've all known. He went to a different league, different team. He was drafted by Cleveland. He came up with – and going back to Cleveland last year – was the best thing that could have happened to him. I'm like, don't look at the BABIP, don't look at the stats, just look at him going back home to the team that he always knew. And sure enough, look at the year he had. It was one of his best years of his career.
Yeah, sometimes place that he was comfortable.
You have to look at those outliers like that. You have to look at guys that are looking to prove something, change the scenery, all that stuff, like I mentioned with Bundy. And sometimes that's just where you got to look. Forget about the numbers.
Well, from a fantasy perspective, I hope you're right. From a real life perspective, I hope you're wrong.
Right. I get it. True.
But no, really, I mean, I feel, to kind of bring it back to, the A's and the win total and contending in the AL West. I talked to, some good friends who are some hardcore fantasy baseball players, but also Giants fans. And they kind of laugh at me when I say that, I think the A's are going to, take the AL West. And it's kind of, to the same point you made. It's like, well, who are they really contending with? I mean, yeah, the Astros and Angels might be there, but the Astros have a distraction. The Angels, I question kind of the back end of the rotation. But, the A's are going to get, Seattle and Texas, a lot throughout the year. And, we don't know exactly how that park in Texas is going to play, but I've heard that right center field wall is going to be one of the shortest ones in all of baseball. So, I think the A's have a real shot to, not only beat that, 90 win total, but, show up in the playoffs. My only concern with them is their bullpen. I mean, they have Liam Hendrix and Yusmeiro Petit, but, after that, I kind of question, how much consistency they're going to get out of Trevino. A couple of years ago, he was lights out, but kind of since then, he's been a little rough. And I know they picked up, McFarland and they have Diekman, but, just a couple of lefties coming out of the pen. I don't have a lot of faith in, Joaquim Soria, but he could always have a resurgence. And that's why, as much as I think Puck would be valuable as a starter, I almost wish they could turn him into, a Josh Hader type where, he comes in and long relief. And, if Luzardo or one of their starters can only go, 4 or 5 innings, heaven forbid, maybe Puck is the one that comes in and, he's just the lights out guy for 3 innings just to get the ball to Hendrix. So, that's really, to me, I think the bullpen is kind of the biggest question mark. Bullpen and second base. And, a lot of people are talking about Jorge Mateo and the year he had in AAA last year. But from what I'm hearing, his kind of power spike was a bit of an aberration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the guy they got from the Yankees.
Yeah.
Or, trade?
Was that Sonny Gray?
I think that was a Sonny Gray trade, yeah.
Right trade. That's right. Yep. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's fast.
Do you think, let me ask you this question, Andrew. Like, would you think that maybe someone like Chris Bassett, who kind of started finding it a little bit last year, do you think he starts the rotation maybe starts the season in the rotation and then transitions to that long relief guy when Puck comes up, and then they see Puck start for a few and then reevaluate kind of like in August and see who may be better fit for that long relief Josh Hader / Andrew Miller type role? Or did you think how do you think that goes? Because I can see that kind of happening.
I think practically, that makes a lot of sense because you've got Bassett who's, he's got a little more mileage on him, but, that's also, he's got that experience of having thrown, 100, 130, 140 innings the last couple of years. And, he is pretty decent. So a guy just to kind of, get you through the season and baby Puck a little bit and, kind of keep the innings off his arm. And then when you're getting into those higher leverage games, those higher leverage situations, maybe that's when, you ease Puck into that starting role because, to your point of, these young pitchers and, kind of, searching for consistency early on in their careers, right. Keep him in AAA, let him get comfortable starting down there, and then maybe get him into, lower leveraged games starting in the bigs, middle of the way through the year, and then transition Bassett sort of out of the rotation. Yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense just from the kind of the short term, season development perspective, but also, the long term perspective of, potentially protecting, your future number 3 or number 2 starter. But when it comes to, I think who would be better suited for that long role, I still think it'd be Puck, just because, his stuff just seems so much more explosive than Bassett's. I think Bassett kind of plays well as an innings eater, so to speak. But, again, if he's your 5th guy in the rotation, I like that a lot. You're on a losing streak, and, Chris Bassett puts together a solid game, and you only have to score 4 runs, and then, the rotation turns over and you come right back with your ace, whether it be, Manaea, Luzardo, or Fires. I could only see him being the ace. I could see Fires being the ace, as a matter of loyalty as opposed to talent. But, given the role, I think, Puck would be better for it. But, long term and, even towards the end of the year, if we're talking about going into, a 5-game series, I like Puck a lot better as a starter. So I think it would make a lot of sense to do exactly that. Keep his innings kind of limited, keep the competition that he's facing, down in AAA, keep that competition at a lower level so he builds up that confidence. So when eventually he does come back to the bigs, he's firing on all cylinders. But, I think they have to do the same thing with Luzardo as well. I don't think he's going to throw too many innings. And so, to really find a long man out of the pen, I think is going to be something they'll need to do, regardless of who starts in the rotation for them. And, if it is indeed Bassett, that's great. But, they need to find someone else to fill out that number 5 spot.
It's funny because I kind of look at Bassett I look at Seth Lugo and what the Mets have done with him. The guy was kind of like a journeyman, started, could throw 5 innings, was decent. Then they kind of used him in a long relay. And the dude wound up being there, the best pitcher out of their bullpen. I kind of look at Bassett that way. This guy can actually be a real asset in the bullpen. Because, think of it this way. Most relievers are failed starters.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Even the greatest of the great, even Mariano Rivera, the failed starter.
Yeah.
Well, and take it.
It's true though. You look at that, and a lot of guys that didn't have the 3-pitch mix or couldn't last as long or whatever it may be, were just better being all right, concentrate on 1 pitch or 2 pitches, and just pitch for an inning. You don't have to go through the lineup more than once.
Well, the A's have a guy who's exactly like that in Liam Hendrix.
Oh, I love Liam. Another ex-twin. I know. Yeah, he was
an ex-twin. Yeah, he was an ex-twin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's from Australia. Yeah, I remember him.
That's right. That's right.
He was decent for us too, and we didn't. We left him as a starter, put him in the bullpen for a little bit, and that was it. It was all right, whatever. But he was great last year for you guys.
Yeah.
Incredible. He found his niche. And I said, it's no offense to any relievers. I'm just saying that 90% of relievers are failed starters. Because no one comes up, very rarely do you come up from high school or college as a closer. Houston Street is the only one I can think of that was actually a closer at Texas.
Exactly.
And came up as a closer. But other than that, these guys are just guys that you just couldn't last. You're better off in one thing. So, and like I said, I'm not taking away from these guys, but, it is what it is. So, someone like a Chris Bassett, I can see if he can concentrate on the 2 pitches that do well for him, put him in as a hater type, 2 innings, the 6th and 7th, or 5th and 6th, when you need a guy to come in. I could see it.
Well, and you'd think maybe if he's, as to your point, if he's coming in just thinking, all right, I just need to get, 8 outs. I need to get 9 outs. Maybe the stuff, ticks up a little bit because he is pretty fastball heavy. So if he knows he doesn't have to worry about going, 6 innings or something like that, maybe the fastball, gets a little more life on it. And, there's just less of an adjustment period for batters too. But I would absolutely love that, because that's, again, as I mentioned, that's one part of the club that I think they could use a little more consistency and a little more stability. And kind of the MO for a lot of the players in the organization is sort of whatever it takes to win. You don't, and I mean, for better or for worse, it doesn't seem like you have any standout superstars on the team. They really do play exactly as that, as a team. So that'll be an interesting progression to watch, because as I mentioned, I do know the A's want to use AJ Puck as a starter this year, but is it going to start in AAA or is he going to start in the bigs? We'll see. Yeah, see, it's Puck's first year back from Tommy John too, so I know they're going to be really gentle with him.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, so. Yeah, we'll see what he does in spring training. See how they kind of handle him.
Yeah.
It's always tough though when you come off of Tommy John. It's always tough.
Well, yeah, usually the control is what is like the last thing to come back. Right. So yeah, you hope he can dial it in and still maintain his velocity. But again, I know they're gonna be real careful with him. But if they get into September and they need him, I hope they ride him. I mean, I don't think they'll need to ride him, so to speak, but I hope they run him out there, because he's, I don't know, just the angle, his arm angle, and just the way he's got kind of a deceptive delivery. And really, it all comes down to his hair. He's got great hair, and so when it comes to punching guys out, you need the locks.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little of a young Randy Johnson.
Yeah. He's certainly a lot lankier than I was expecting. For some reason, I was expecting him to be a little bit more muscular, a little bit more of a specimen. But yeah, he is pretty gangly. I wouldn't say he's pushing into that Chris Sale territory, but Luzardo is kind of this stocky, somewhat muscular, thick guy, and Luzardo is just kind of this beanpole who whips it up there. Yeah, he can run it up there pretty well.
Yeah, now Puck's got the stuff. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, he would be great as a reliever. But I think they want to see what they have.
Yeah.
They want to watch him start, watch him dominate AAA.
Yeah.
Get some innings under his belt, get some confidence, like you said, and then bring him up and get him his first start, like in Oakland at home against a lesser opponent, like someone like the Tigers or someone like that. I think they're going to be strategic about it, because that's Billy Bean's MO anyway. Be strategic about stuff like that. Get him his confidence, get him all that, and see where he goes. And then managing the innings, see where Bassett is, see where Puck is, see where Luzardo is. You got to take that as it comes for the season, because you still have Manaea, still have Montas. You still got Flyers, who's a workhorse at least, So
yeah, you got to figure each of those guys is going to give you 6 every time out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a work in progress. The starting rotation as a whole is a work in progress right now. But they'll play it the way it is. Bob Melvin's a great manager, So I mean, I think he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting for me, to kind of watch as the year goes on, but to really see, who emerges, from, Luzardo, Manaea, Puck, Montas, to see which one of those guys emerges as, the quote unquote ace, or if they have to play in that one game play-in game again, or, if there's a crucial, game 5 series in the first round, if they could have their choice, who would that be? Just because I could see, Manaea having, some previous success and the previous experience, taking a step and being that guy. But then, Luzardo and Montas, excuse me, were just so excellent in the time that we saw him last year that it's certainly not unreasonable that it could be one of those guys. I didn't hate the decision to start Manaea in the play-in game last year, but he'd only thrown like 29 innings the entire year as he was making his way back from that shoulder injury. Mm-hmm. And the Rays, and I think this is always 2020 in hindsight. I feel like the Rays just smashed lefties with the lineup they had last year. I mean, they basically have two lineups this year. They have a left-handed pitcher's lineup and a right-handed pitcher's lineup with all the platoon splits they have. So again, it's Manaea wins that game, and it's not even an afterthought. But and with the benefit of hindsight, there are just those questions. But yeah, I'm really going to be interested to see by September who's the guy that's the clear cut leader of the staff, whether it's Luzardo, Montas, or Manaea. But I'm thinking it's got to be one of those three guys, just based on pure talent and pure stuff. But I'm very excited about this year. As I mentioned, I thought kind of 2020 was when the window was opening, and so last year was I wouldn't say it was a surprise, but I was pleasantly astonished that they did as well as they did do. But then you kind of break it down and look at it, and it's like, well, of course they've got Gold Glove defense all over the field. They hit jacks, and that's with kind of a putrid couple of months from Chris Davis too. Mm-hmm. And so if they could get things sorted out with the back of the rotation and the bullpen, and to your point, if those things kind of equalize themselves, kind of one from the other, Bassett moving to the bullpen, then it certainly isn't unreasonable to think that they might take the pennant.
Yeah, and I think going into a wild card game this year, I think they might look at it differently. I mean, you could have Montas the righty and Luzardo the lefty. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do Montas for a couple innings and then bring in Luzardo the lefty for a couple innings, and then if you have Bassett and then like Hendrix at the end of the game, you can really shut down anybody in game one and still have Manaea to start game one of an ALDF. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you have to go the wild card route, if not, then you could have whoever start. I mean, games 1, 2, and 3, Montas, Luzardo, Manaea, however you want to work it. I mean, that'll be something that Melvin would, judge depending on who they're playing. But I could definitely see them making the playoffs again. Yeah. I mean, even if it's as a wild card and they have to play that one game, but I could definitely see them winning the division. Like I said, I think the Astros fall off this year.
Yeah, it just seems like there are too many distractions for the Astros, and I'm interested to see if there's any player policing going on within games, or if those Astros guys get pitched any differently. Maybe they get a few more fastballs off the inner part of the plate.
Yeah. They're going to lead the league in hit by pitches.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what the line in Vegas is on that for them.
I don't know.
But
they definitely have one.
Yeah. But yeah, I think either a repeat of last year in terms of the win total, or right in that mid-90s area, that feels right for this team.
Yeah.
And if things break right, that's probably pretty conservative. But I just don't. It's hard to get that optimistic because I just don't think you can count on Luzardo or Puck for I don't even think you can count on them for 150 innings each. I think that would be a stretch for both of them, especially Puck. And so how they kind of fill that in will be a work in progress throughout the year.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at a lot of other teams in the American League. I mean, who has more than like 2 starters that are solid? There aren't many. I mean, the Yankees do. And even with the Astros, I mean, you still have Verlander, you still have Greinke. You know, I just don't know like how many other teams. I mean, at least if you can count on Manaea and Fires, at least you have two solid guys. Hopefully, Manaea's healthy all year. But I mean, at least you have two solid guys. And then when you have Montas, Luzardo, Pop, and Bassett, at least you have, you know, you have a solid 6 guys to fill in a 5-man rotation.
Yeah.
Whether the innings used for the younger guys or whatever, you know, however they want to manage them, but at least you have those guys. I mean, I think the Twins have at least they have a solid couple with Barrios and Odorizzi coming back. You know, Rich Hill's not going to be back till June. Nade's suspended. You know, we got a Homer Bailey, but, you know, whatever. We'll see what we get from him. But, I mean, you know, like, at least if you have those top 2 going into the season that you know are going to give you those 170 to 200 innings, you could piece together the rest and hope for maybe another guy steps up or whatever. You know, so they're not far out as far as the rest of the top teams in the AL as far as their pitching staff goes, as far as their starting rotation at least. You know, so I don't think it's that much of a worry. I mean, I think they'll be solid. And like you said, with the defense behind them, this pitcher is going to have the luxury of that, a big ballpark and defense behind them. So I think they'll be fine. Like I said, I could definitely see the A's 93, 95 wins around there. I could definitely see that. And I think the Astros are going to fall off.
Definitely.
I think the Astros finished with like 88, maybe 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to your point too, you know, I think the Angels they could even overtake the Astros because the Astros have, you know, they have some young guys that they're really going to need to lean on in that rotation to be successful. And for the most part, they're just so unproven because the Astros, you know, were so deep in years past. And now that they've had to kind of let go of Garrett Cole, they're going to lean on, you know, Urquidy or, you know, McCullers, who, I mean, his middle name is, you know, DL or IL. Sorry, I'm an old school. But then what? Peacock or, you know, Framber Valdez? Maybe they bring up Forrest Whitley and something breaks for them there. But, you know, even the Angels, I kind of like, you know, I even like their rotation a little bit more than the Astros. That sounds a little crazy, but I think Griffin Cannon's a guy that's going to kind of fly under the radar. And
I like him a lot.
You know,
yeah.
and Haney, you know, he was pretty good towards the end of last year as well. And you know, I've never loved Tehran, but you know, a same type of guy. You know, give you a bunch of innings, a proven veteran, and you know, I'm also interested to see how they manage Ohtani, just because when he's been on, he's I mean, it seems like he's been as good as anyone. But,
and my boy.
And your boy Bundy, your boy Dylan Bundy.
I mean, the Angels could have a solid staff. Granted, no ace right there, but you know what? Like you said about the A's. I mean, last year they did it without an ace. They won 97 games.
Yeah.
What's to say the Angels can't? I mean, they have the best player in baseball. Drelton Simmons is the best shortstop, defensive shortstop in baseball. They signed Rendon, who's a top 5 third baseman in baseball. With Ohtani there, like they could have a real good team. I think the Angels finish ahead of the Astros too. I think the Astros finish in 3rd place.
Well, this is going to sound a little crazy, but going back to one of your Twins guys, I love that they picked up Jason Castro. I feel like he's a guy who's never really gotten gotten the respect with the bat or the glove that he should have. Yeah.
I love Castro. There was a great. People were like, when we signed him a few years ago, we signed him 3 years, $24 million, so $8 million a year for a catcher, and everyone was like, "Well, you signed $8 million a year for a guy that's like he hits 230, blah blah blah." Yeah, but his on base percentage is 350. The guy's one of the best defensive catchers. The framing and everything like that. Like you look at his numbers, like you look at his sabermetrics as far as like the defense goes. He's an excellent catcher. And I was sorry to see him go this year, but
we're not going to pay him another $8 million. We signed Alex Avila to back up. Mitch Garver is our guy.
I love Mitch. Mitch.
Garver took a big step ahead in defense last year, and that's what I think helped that, is because Garver wasn't seen in the organization. And you got to remember, Garver's 28 going on 29. Like, he's an older guy. But with his bat, the fact that his defense came up, and he was actually above average in defense, the Twins definitely felt that, all right, Garver's our man now. We'll get Alex Avila to back up. We still have Williams Astudillo as an emergency catcher.
La Tortuga.
Yeah. Oh, I love him. I love him. You got to love the guy. He's like the position player, like Bartolo Colon at this point.
Yeah.
It's just I love the dude. Dude doesn't strike out or walk. He just swings at everything and hits everything. It's crazy. But yeah, I loved Castro when he was with the Twins. Love Castro.
Yeah. No, the Twins. The Twins are, the Twins are legit. Twins AL Central champs.
Do it again this year. I think we'll do it again this year.
Yeah.
White Sox improve. It's fine. Indians are what they are, but I think the Twins will do it again this year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Arias can stick.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with him. He's got a great batted ball. As far as his batted ball metrics, he's great because he hits everything and he barrels it up. Like, he's solid with his hard hit percentage, contact, and everything like that. Like, he just hits the ball. Not comparing him to this guy, but he's almost like a Tony Gwynn. Like, he just hits everything. He swings at everything and hits everything. I just don't know. He was below average defensively at second base last year, and I just don't know with a full season. I'm not as confident with him as some other people are, but, we'll see.
All I've read about him is, like you say, the great contact rates, but, if there's nothing behind it, there's not going to be much run for him. I love David Fletcher on the Angels, but, it's like he hits the ball, but he doesn't necessarily hit it particularly hard. And, I can't really speak too much about his defense. His defense is okay. But, no, I'll take an ALCS with the Twins and the A's.
I like it. Sorry, Alex. Going down, brother.
Yeah, 5-game series is tough, too, so I can definitely see that. Because you guys almost took down the Rays last year. So.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I am excited, but every team has its holes, though, right? So there's always going to be something that's a little off about every team, but I am excited about the A's this year.
Yeah.
I think this is the time when they can really make a push to do something significant in the postseason. Because God knows it's been nothing but pain these last 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely see them making some noise this year. But we'll see.
Yeah. I think if Steven Piscotty, falters a little bit, then maybe we'll see if Seth Brown can step in and see if he can translate that success from the minors to the majors. But other than that, I'm just, really, really going to be interested to see how second base shakes down for them, and the back end of that rotation, and how they find a way to manage those innings between Luzardo and Puck, and mix and match Bassett, like you say. Maybe he does turn into that bullpen piece that makes that jump to, those big time K rates that, Hendrix and Lugo experienced when they moved to relievers. I didn't know it, but Seth Lugo, he turned into an 11 K per 9 pitcher when they moved him to the pen.
Yeah. he turned into a beast when he was like, and the guy's always been good, but his change. He's got one of the best right-handed changeups in the game.
Yeah,
but I mean, he turned into a beast when he was strictly a circular reliever. Oh yeah, Seth Lugo's solid, man. But that's what I'm saying. Chris Bassett could be like that type of guy. You know, just a starter, kind of pitch to 5 innings, maybe relief here and there, kind of like a Seth Lugo type. If he goes to the bullpen and is like, look, this is your role. This is what you're going to do. You're going to pitch 2 innings max. All you need to do is get 6 outs, maybe 7.
Yeah, let it fly.
Sometimes let it fly. And like you said, Bassett, his best pitch is his fastball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with Lugo. The fastball and the changeup. There you go. Let it fly, man. Do what you got to do. Once through the lineup, that's it. Let it roll.
Well, the guy on the A's that's in their bullpen who, you know, I feel like he experienced a little success when he first came up, but he hasn't been as consistent is Daniel Mengden. And I think he could be one of those guys who fills in on like you're saying, maybe that 6th day or, you know, they have a bullpen game and they let him go for a few innings and, you know, kind of piece it together from there. But, you know, another kind of, you know, solid but unspectacular name that, you know, could maybe help bridge the gap and, you know, get them through the season. So you've got Puck and Luzardo really throwing in those meaningful innings and those meaningful games.
Yeah, he gets the arms. I forgot about Mengden. Yeah, forgot about him.
Yeah,
you got the arms.
Great mustache.
It's just a matter of putting the arms in the right position to have success.
Yeah.
Where you put them, you know, who's going to start? Are you going to do the bullpen games? You know, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that's all it comes down to. Is the manager putting these guys in the proper position where they can get the maximum from their talent? You know, isn't that what any coach manager does in any sport? Put the guys in position to succeed. You know,
exactly.
The best suited. That's the way it is. So we'll see.
In Bomel, we trust.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, to kind of, you know, wrap things up, you know, they just have to carry over what they did last year and make that, you know, final push to get over the hump. And I would just like to think that, you know, the development of the younger guys at the back of the rotation and finding a little more consistency in the bullpen will be enough to not only get them into that playing game, but get them into that 5-game series where, you know, they can really leverage, you know, that exact rotation and, you know, use that depth that they have to take down, you know, that 5 and 7 game series as opposed to just, you know, playing one game for the entire season. But, you know, given a healthy Chris Davis, you know, I have no concerns about the lineup, really. I think the lineup is going to have no issue, you know, generating runs. It's just, you know, how many runs can the bullpen limit? And, you know, to a certain extent, you would almost want, you know, if you had to choose one weak spot on your team, you'd almost want it to be the bullpen because, you know, conceivably, those are the pieces that are easiest to add mid-season through a trade. Right. Whereas, you know, acquiring a Matt Olson type or, you know, even a Mark Canha type, you have to figure the price is going to be more significant for a major contributor than it is going to be for, you know, a bullpen arm who's going for, you know, 1 or 2 innings or something like that. But, you know, they did indeed add that TJ McFarland, so they had, you know, more than one lefty in the pen. But, you know, I like their chances this year. I like their chances a lot. But, you know, I think one thing that they have to rein in, especially in those playoff games, is, you know, maybe a little bit better situational hitting. And that's so, you know, unfair to say because these guys are professionals. You know, who am I to tell them or, you know, speculate as to what route they should take. But just, you know, anecdotally from years past, it seems like they've had, you know, teams that, you know, can do exactly this, you know, hit a lot of bombs, score a lot of runs. But then when they start facing premium pitching, they're striking out a lot because they got guys that, either strike out or hit home runs. So, I'm just hoping they can find a little bit of consistency when they face that, top tier pitching that you're inevitably going to face when you get to the playoffs. But, having said that, they're professionals, so I leave it in their hands. But I will say I'm very excited to see, how Matt Olson does this year. I own him everywhere in fantasy. Some spots I've been stealing him, some spots I've been paying up for him. But, I think, if things break right, he's challenging like, a 44 to 47 home run season. And, that's exciting from the fantasy perspective, but it's even more exciting as an A's fan. So, Matt Olson, AL MVP. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's bold. That's bold.
Yeah, that's real bold. that was that little chuckle at the end. The chuckle at the end was saying bold prediction 2020.
Picking anyone other than Trout is bold.
True enough. True, yeah, especially in the American League. Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, if Byron Buxton could ever play a full season and hit with his defense and everything, I mean, he could be MVP. But yeah, no, I'll agree. I agree with everything you said, Andrew. I mean, that's it. The bullpen pieces, they'll fall into place. Whether you have to make a trade for a guy or you use one of the starters during the season, save his innings, and have him be that piece or whatever. The lineup's not an issue. I mean, Chris Davis is going to bounce back, hit 47 again this year. The last year was an anomaly.
Be better.
And, Austin Chapman, Laureano, Semien, Canna. I mean, you guys got to see what Sean Murphy does. You guys got a solid lineup, and I really think the A's are solid. They're going to win 95 games this year. Take the division, and we'll see what they do in a 5-game series. Like you said, the one game tough for them, but a 5-game series, like we saw. Oakland almost reminds me a little bit of Milwaukee 2 years ago when they made it. First got Yelich when he won the MVP, and they made it. And what was their starting staff looking like? Release 15, Zach Davies. They had Hayden. They had Jeffers. They had these guys. I think they almost seemed like they pieced it together, and they went to 7 games in the NLCS against the Dodgers 2 years ago. I see the A's the same type of team in that sense that they can just piece it together and make it work because they have a whole team. So I could definitely see that. And I see that happening with the A's. They're going to make the ALCS, and they're going to lose in 7 to the Twins. So there you go.
Oof. Alex, I'm going to need you to edit that last part out.
Yeah, it'll stay in there.
I just throw that in there.
Twins against in the World Series. Twins against, you said Twins Phillies was the last. I think you said the one time.
Yeah, Twins Phillies. Yep. Yeah. Twins Phillies. I was right last year. I predicted Houston losing to the Nationals last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
impressive. I did, actually.
Yeah, we have it too in the podcast.
I do have it recorded, so it's all on tape. But yeah, I'm going Twins Phillies this year.
Twins and Phillies. Oh,
that's my prediction.
I guess if there had to be a team the A's would lose to, it would be the Twins, right?
Well, yeah,
Be a redux from the mid '90s, early '90s.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys won the ALCS the 3 years between our World Series. I mean, we won in '87, we won in '91. You guys won the 3 years before, in between, '88, '89, and '90.
Yeah.
I'm old. So
you're stirring up bad feelings here. 88 and 90 hurt a lot. And 89 was overshadowed by an earthquake.
Yeah, true.
I wasn't alive, so.
Yeah, I'm old. I remember Kirby Puckett. That was my pick.
Yeah.
That's why I became a Twins fan. Puckett. I love Puckett. You know, I mean, that 91 World Series to me was still the greatest World Series ever.
Yeah, I believe it. No. The next one the A's win will be the greatest one ever. I was too young to understand it in 89. So hopefully I don't have to wait as long as Chiefs fans.
All right, 50 years? Yeah. Good for the Chiefs, though. I was happy for them. I was happy
for Andy Reid.
Andy Reid was the guy I was most happy for him.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's been in the league so long. He's made it to championship games and won of the Super Bowl and everything. Like, he was, they even said it before the broadcast. He had the most wins of any coach to not win a ring.
Yeah.
But, I think he deserved it. And he's done such great, he's been a great coach for so long. I think he definitely deserved it. And all the thing he went through with his son dying a few years ago and all that stuff. And, yeah. And plus, Pat Mahomes, his dad pitched for the Twins.
Yeah.
So, I root for the guy. Right?
It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle.
It all comes full circle.
Oh, God. You're going to start throwing in like a Kent Herbeck reference here pretty soon, aren't you?
Oh, I love Herbie. Man. Herbie Bransky, Gaetti. Oh, man. Believe me, that's when I was growing up. I went to high school in 87. I mean, I was like prime, Yeah, I love the Twins back then.
Yeah. Like, there's another guy that I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. It wasn't Jeff Blauser, but it was another white guy with a mullet and a mustache, and it was like this.
That was half the team. So, that was half the team back then. Rick Aguilera. Oh, man. Jeff Reardon, 87. Frank Viola. Man, they had some good players. But that's the thing. We haven't won since 91. So I'm like, we won 100 games this year. And, of course, we get killed by the Yankees, as usual.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
It was Dan Gladden. I was thinking about Dan Gladden.
Oh, there you go. Dan Gladden. Yep.
Alex is like, who are these people?
Well, Chuck Knobloch.
Oh, yeah.
Year 91. And then he wound up going to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Secret agent. He was secret agent when he went to the Yankees, throwing those balls into the stands.
Hitting people in the face in the stands. Yeah.
All right, so tickets on me. Tickets on me when the Twins and the A's play in the ALCS.
I will take you up on that. We got it recorded. So
it's recorded. Damn it! I'm locked in. I'm locked in. I didn't say where they were.
That's all right. I'll send nosebleeds.
As long as
you care.
It's fine.
I'll make it out there.
What about for A's Yankees if that happens? You got me for that.
I
mean, that would be fun.
Sure. If it's the ALCS. I wonder which one's more likely.
I'd say Yankees.
It's kind of 50-50.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If the A's meet either the Twins or the Yankees in the ALCS, I'll cop for tickets. There.
Okay.
It's written.
Sounds good. Sounds good, man.
Right.
I'm there.
Excellent. Well, if you have any other questions, A's related, feel free to hit me anytime, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated. Well, I'll let you guys go, but you have a good night and thank you again.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Nice talking to you, man. We'll stay in touch.
Likewise.
I'm sure I'll see you.
I'll see you. What's your handle on Twitter?
At JBall0202.
At JBall0202. I'll come find you.
I'm not mistaken, but
say
because your name Andrew Kolar sounds familiar.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I think I might have just followed you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, name sounds familiar. I'm sure I've seen you before. Well, it's fantasy baseball. I'm sure I've seen you around.
But yeah, no. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I've been following you for a while, Johnny.
Oh, all right. There you go.
I I wasn't thinking about it until I actually, saw your Twitter page again. Yeah, I've been following you for a little while.
We follow each other, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so there you go. Cool. Well, nice talking to you. Finally, after following Twitter. It's always good to talk.
If I ever find myself in Boston or New York, I'll drop you guys a line. I got family that lives a little bit outside of Manhattan, and then my wife has some good friends who live in Boston. So if we ever make it out there, I'll drop you a line and we can grab a beer.
Man, I live 8 miles away from Fenway Park. I'm right outside of Boston, so yeah, definitely.
All right, you guys, go to sleep. It's late for you out there. I'm just getting started out here.
I always stay up.
We've got another pod going on.
You get to debrief this one on a separate pod?
Debrief. We got a separate Twins pod coming up that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
God bless.
You kind of started the Twins talk in this pod too.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's a good lead-in.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, man. Take it easy, brother.
Have a good night. Thank you both. Take care.
Later, man.
Have a good one.